In the city of Umoma, a man named Chijioke got married to Adamma. They lived happily, and everyone in the neighborhood admired their love and unity. They seemed to have it all, but one thing was missing. They had no child. This had been a burden to them, especially after 5 years of marriage. Whenever they went out for occasions, they saw other families with their children, a constant reminder of their childlessness. Though they continued to put on a brave face, the longing for a child weighed heavily on their hearts. Adamma's mother always comforted her, telling her that she will bear her own children when the time comes. Unknown to Adamma, Chijioke had been unfaithful. He had begun an affair with a younger woman named Chinasa. She was charming and vibrant, and over time she filled the emotional gap Chijioke felt from the lack of a child. Despite his love for Adamma, the constant pressure of not having children pushed him into Chinasa's arms. As fate would have it, Chinasa became pregnant. Upon hearing the news, Chijioke was overwhelmed with joy and guilt at the same time. He saw this as an opportunity to finally have the child he always wanted, but knew he was betraying his loyal wife. Instead of confessing to Adamma and working on their marriage, Chijioke made a cruel decision. He brought Chinasa into his home, forcing Adamma to accept her presence. Chinasa, confident in her new role, began to mistreat Adamma because she's a woman of peace. Chijioke, consumed by his desire for a child, allowed it to happen. Adamma, once the queen of her home, was now reduced to a mermaid. Late one night, after a day of exhausting chores, Chinasa demanded Adamma prepare a meal. Though exhausted, and out of respect for her husband and for the sake of the unborn child, Adamma complied. But when the meal was served, Chinasa spitefully poured the soup on Adamma, accusing her of using too much pepper. It was a lie, but Chinasa was determined to drive Adamma out of the house and take her place. To make matters worse, Adamma received a call from her family that her mother was gravely ill and needed urgent medical attention. With nowhere else to turn, she begged Chijioke for money to cover her mother's medical bills. Coldly, Chijioke refused. His heart had hardened, and this reminded Adamma that he had stopped her from working, leaving her with no means of supporting herself. Chijioke had warned Adamma not to step out of the house, or else she shouldn't bother coming back. Adamma paid deaf ears to his warnings because she cannot leave her mother in the hospital. Adamma left to be with her mother in the hospital. Tragically, her mother passed away before receiving proper medical care. Adamma sat in the dimly lit hospital room, staring blankly at the empty bed where her mother had just taken her last breath. The air was thick with sorrow, and the faint smell of antiseptic seemed to burn her senses. Her heart ached with an unbearable weight, and she felt as though the world had collapsed around her. Tears streamed down her face, her chest heaving with silent sobs. She clutched the edges of her dress, her knuckles white, and the reality of her loss sunk in. Her mother, the one person who had always been her source of strength, who had comforted her through her childlessness and the struggles of her marriage, was gone. The helplessness she had felt when her mother needed medical care and she couldn't provide it gnawed at her soul. The thought of Chijioke's cold refusal to help replayed in her mind. How had it come to this? How had the man she loved so deeply become so cruel? And now, with her mother gone, she felt truly alone in the world. Adamma buried her face in her hands and wept openly, her body shaking as grief overwhelmed her. The sound of her sobs echoed in the stillness of the hospital. A heartbreaking cry for all that she had lost. She had done everything she could, but it wasn't enough. And now there was no going back. The pain of losing her mother was a wound that would never heal, and the betrayal from Chijioke only deepened the agony. Grief-stricken, Adamma returned home to inform her husband of her mother's death. But instead of comfort, she was met with anger. Chijioke, with Chinasa by his side, threw Adamma's belongings out of the house, casting her away. Devastated and with nowhere to go, Adamma left, shattered by the betrayal. But life had more in store for her. A few months later, she discovered that she had been pregnant all along and soon gave birth to twins. As fate would have it, she reconnected with an old friend who offered her a job at an oil company with a new mansion, a car, and the security of a high-paying job. Adamma's life took a turn for the better. She found love again in her old friend who was ready to marry her. Meanwhile, while Adamma left the house, Chinasa became the new house owner of Adamma's home. She and Chijioke were enjoying themselves and going for shopping until a few months later, Chinasa gave birth to a baby girl. But tragedy struck when the baby passed away shortly after birth. As if in retribution, Chijioke's business crumbled, leaving him penniless. Loan sharks repossessed his house, and Chinasa, seeing no future with a broken man, left him with what little he had left. Chijioke, once admired and prosperous, was now a beggar on the streets, asking for a small change from passerby. One day, as Adamma drove through the market in her sleek car, she saw her former husband, Chijioke, kneeling on the sidewalk, begging. Overcome with pity, she stopped and called his name. Ashamed, Chijioke could hardly look her in the eye. He begged for her forgiveness and asked if she would take him back. But Adamma, now strong and independent, refused. With kindness in her voice, she handed him some money and drove off, leaving Chijioke to confront the full weight of his mistakes, realizing too late the price of his choices. Please leave a comment down below on what you learned on this story. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. See you on another episode of Captivating Story. Bye for now.